Welcome to my weekly review. You are looking at a daily chart of the Nasdaq, and today is Saturday, January 4th. And we concluded the Santa rally, which was kind of a dud this year. But anyway, on Friday, we had a little relief rally as the Nasdaq gained 340 points or 1.77% on above the average 50-day volume. So that's a good sign. But, in reality, you got to look at the bigger picture. And I'm going to get to the weekly chart in a minute, but really it's just in a trade range here. It made that high of 20,204 and it made the low, which undercut the December 20th low, which, after Jay Powell pissed in our punch bowl, it had kind of a temper tantrum, moved down to 19,168 on that December 20th, that Friday there, then rallied back up. Into the end of December during the Santa rally, it sold off just like every day. Made that low. It undercut the low there of 19,117, so which undercut the low of 168. So that's a good retest and support right there. And then on Friday, you got a nice little relief rally or whatever you want to call it. And it rallied up above its 21. So that's always a positive. 0.2% above the 21 and 2% above this rising red line, which is your 50 simple moving average. It's still right in the middle of this little trade range here from December 18th. Like I said, when Powell spoke, and it kind of put a damper on the market. It was that Monday there, it made 20,204. Wednesday is the day he spoke on the 18th and then sold off. And we've kind of been in a trade range ever since. But, everybody's focused on the last day, recency bias, and it's all, we're going to rip higher from here, and we might. But we've just had 2 days of 2025. I'm going to say 2024 one of these times. I know I will. But if we just go back and see how it did, these 2 days is up 1.6%. So if you're doing better than 1.6, you're outperforming the Nasdaq in 2025. And if you're out of the market in cash, you are 1.6 behind the index, which is, just starting. I think we're going to have a pretty decent year. And I don't want to make predictions or guesses or anything, but we just take it one day at a time. We're in a trade range here. We had a nice day Friday above the moving average, which we like. But we take a look back, as Phil Lesh would say, take a step back, and you can see the Nasdaq was down 100 points or 0.5% last week. So when the Nasdaq's down like this, you can expect your growth stocks to be down. But we saw something very different this week. I'm going to get to that. When the Nasdaq was down on Thursday, there was some stocks rising, showing strength, which is an indication of what was to come on Friday, a little foreshadowing. If we look at the SPY, it was down the same amount as the Nasdaq, that's 0.51%. This one's not doing quite as well as the Nasdaq. How do I know that? Well, because it's below its 50, where the Nasdaq is 2% above its 50. Pretty simple stuff there. The Dow Jones has been struggling and below the 50, and is, which I'm going to get to all this in a minute. We have a lot of stuff to get to today, but a lot of the speculative names, names without a lot of earnings, are ripping higher. And you just got to take it for what it is. The stocks in the Dow Jones are not, and so that's just the market that we have. And the IWM looks like it's trying to make a bottom here. You can see this flat base pattern here, just bumping along the bottom. And eventually, I think this thing's going to rise. But every time people predict that the IWM is going to outperform, it never does. It's just a chop fest. Going back to November of 2021, which we started our bear market, this has really not come out. So anyway, yeah, that's not my playground there. Okay, that's enough of the indexes. Yeah, that's enough. I'm going to just go to our Batman stocks because I have a lot to get to today. There was a lot going on last week. This is Broadcom. I know a lot of people were whining on Friday like the market was ripping. And Broadcom is doing nothing. What's wrong with Broadcom? And this is how impatient we've become. Broadcom has made a big move after earnings, and now it's just flagging here as it pulls back to its 10 EMA. So if you didn't own this stock before this double bottom base breakout, this is giving you another opportunity maybe to get in here. The last two sessions, it was up. Like I said, Thursday, it was up while the Nasdaq was floundering. But you can see this flag pattern here, down 3.81% last week, and just flagging an inside week on light volume. That's kind of what you want to see in your leaders, pulling back on light volume. So Broadcom doing nothing wrong. Apple selling off is not a surprise. For Apple's up 34% last year. Last week was a rough week. Yeah, down nearly 5%, just pulling back though. And Apple does this after good years. There's some profit taking. So you just got to wait for the earnings reports from these companies, folks. These are the big earners that are going to drive the indexes. And I think they're going to have a good year as well. No, excuse me, not Microsoft. I got to go to my T and Batman Tesla. Sold off, maybe some profit taking year end, had that delivery number. I don't think that was a real big deal, but it gave people an opportunity to get in. It traded down to its 34 EMA, and I'm not going to, you know, post that here, but had a nice run from the post-election, some profit taking, and now rallied back up, 8%? Rivian had I wouldn't say a good report. Rivian had news and kind of boosted the auto manufacturers on Friday. So Tesla, definitely when you see Tesla making moves like this of 8%, these are the stocks that drive the indexes. Microsoft had that news they're going to spend $80 billion with a B, $80 billion on data centers, which it's a power play. These companies are not supply constricted on chips anymore. There's a supply constraint on energy, and it's like an arms race. The company with the most power wins the race. So you're going to see Meta and Amazon and these other companies spending money, and that's what we look for in these earnings reports here. This at the end of this month is their CapEx spending for 2025, which will also help NVIDIA and some of the data center players like Vertiv and the energy plays, which I'm going to get to in a little bit. Meta Platform still setting up in this base. It broke out of this, flat base and then made a high of 638. That's got to be the day before Powell, right? Because Powell he just blew everything up. Nope, that was 1211. It pulled back to its 50 and has just been, lounging around down here, loitering. But it's got that standard buy point of 60, call it 603, and it's just a tick above it right here. So that one looks pretty good to me. Once again, you got to wait for earnings for the end of the month to see what they have to say. This is a longer term play and a driver of the indexes, like all these Batman stocks. All right, so that's the M's. I got to go to the A's. Amazon, once again, got to wait for the earnings call. But they're going to be spending too. Made that high of 233, and this one was sold off on the Powell speech on the 18th, the interest rates, the hawkish cut, and hasn't really been able to muster any power higher towards that old 233 there. But just lounging around here before the earnings is fine, just going sideways is fine, and that's kind of what I expect the indexes to do. We got another Fed meeting and earnings coming up. So a lot of new data points in the month of January. So, just keep your eyes open and listen to what's going on here. Another one is Google. This one has a quantum, they announced quantum chip, Willow, no, Lulu, Willow, and it had a nice run up, of course. On the 17th, made that high, and then Powell, sold off after he spoke, and it's just kind of gone sideways like the indexes. These 8 stocks are definitely going to impact our indexes. I don't know how many times I'm going to say that. You're going to sick of me saying that. Anyway, NVIDIA starting to make some noise here. The semiconductor stocks looked pretty good last week, which I'll get to in a minute. Broadcom, one of them. NVIDIA, another one. This 3.5 trillion market cap. When this thing starts to move, it can really move up 4% on Friday after, the Nasdaq was down on Thursday and this stock was up, just a little bit, but it was up, right? 2.9%, yeah, 3% move while the Nasdaq was floundering. So to me, that was a tell of some stocks. I'm going to point that out here. On Thursday, the Nasdaq was down only 30 points, but it was still down, right? And you could see the big selling volume here. So with stocks that were up, while the Nasdaq was down, was a tell. I'm going to get to that in a minute. I'm going to continue with this semiconductor theme with Broadcom and NVIDIA because I think this is ready to make a move. ALAB has this clear pattern of pulling back to moving averages and finding support, here, here. I don't know how many times it has to do it. Now, it was pulling back to the 10, and this week it pulled back to the 21. It was downgraded on Thursday, and it was up on a downgrade, which was a huge tell for me. I mean, if it doesn't want to go down on bad news or a downgrade, probably going to go the other way. And on Friday, it rallied nearly 5%. Back up around 140, but no great shakes. It was down 0.5% on the week. Just pulling back, like I say, to that moving average. I would expect this one to have a good year. If you looked at my stock picks for 2025, this is one that I think will do well in 2025. And that's no surprise. I'm not saying anything that anybody else isn't thinking. MRVL, another one, made this big run up and then sold off with the PAL. This is the PAL low right on the 18th. Just pulled back to its 21, and it has been finding support there. Once again, on Thursday when the Nasdaq was down, this one was up nearly 3%. So that was foreshadowing Friday's move. Will it continue? Nobody knows for sure, but the semiconductors do look pretty good. ARM's got this double bottom base pattern here, base on base. I got to go to the weekly. This is a weekly review, and it really hasn't gone anywhere since getting a little extended and stretched at 164 on February 16th, 2024. So it's been, 11 months of just consolidating, going sideways. And this is why sometimes when you get the big spike, you can just, sell it and move on to the next stock because this has been dead money for a long, long time. But maybe it's ready to break out of this double bottom base pattern here. If the semiconductor or the chip stocks want to make a move higher, I'm all for it. You could say this, if you're really short term, you could say it broke above this, little, downtrend line or avalanche trade, and then, got a little relief rally on Thursday, a little bump, and then Friday. So SMTC, this is a smaller semiconductor fabless stock. This is only 5.5 billion market cap, but definitely gapped higher and is forming this little flag pattern, or I don't know, a little shelf, whatever you'd want to call it here. But once again, up on Thursday while the index was down and then rallied 6.5% on Friday. So we like 6.5% moves. So that one looks pretty good too. I'm going to throw a couple other names in here. That this is kind of the same thing you just saw from SMTC. This is a 12 billion market cap. This is CRDO, a connectivity, AI connectivity play. And you can see this just making this little flagging type pattern here. CRDO looks good, made that high and then pulled back to the 21. So it's doing nothing wrong, just marking time. Don't get frustrated with, Broadcom and CRDO because they're not ripping higher 20% in a day. Give them time. This thing has shown the ability to move and move quickly. Also, ANET is a network solutions play, AI play, but not a semiconductor, but it's in the tech space. I'm going to move on to other stocks. That's why I just kind of threw it in here. Definitely getting support at its moving averages here as it moves higher. If you just look at a weekly chart of Arista Networks, and you're just kind of a patient investor and you're holding this one, every time it pulls back, it finds support, so every time it pulls back, it's been an opportunity to buy. I don't know if that will continue. It had a 3 weeks tight pattern, then last week popped a little bit, not that much. It was like 2% move, but still, that's what you want to see out of a 3 weeks tight pattern for sure. The move higher. All right, I mentioned some of these other names that are showing strength. This is GEV. Had this little IPO base and blasted higher. Now it's in this consolidating in this flat base pattern. This is one that I was ready to buy and I screwed up. I was looking at something else, so I bought VST. But anyway, it's neither here nor there. This one's I got a 357.09, standard buy point. But once again, that Thursday move higher while the Nasdaq, while the indexes were floundering, this one was, firming up here. Made that high at 342, then pulled back, closed at 338. Then on Friday, popped off that 21. a nice move there, 4.5%. With Microsoft making that announcement of they're spending 80 billion, yeah, it's going to go somewhere. And this is one of the leaders in this space. The alternative energy group is the top performing group in the first 2 days of 2025. That's some good cocktail knowledge for you. But anyway, the relative strength line heading due north, and this is definitely one that you want to either own or keep your eyes on, or buy at that standard buy point. It depends. We're all individuals. We're all unique as our fingerprints, and we all have, our own trading patterns and objectives and goals and time frames in the stock market. So some people might want to just put this away in their retirement fund and hold it for many, many years. And some people just might want to trade a, breakout. So that depends on your style, and you better get a style that matches your personality. And if you don't have a personality, you better get a personality. All right. Vistra is another one in the energy group, not the alternative energy. This is utility, electric power. Once again, it did this before, and we caught this, as it broke above this downtrend line back around 89, 88, I don't know, $90 or whatever. It's doing it again, though. Breaking above a downtrend line on Thursday, once again, it was up while the Nasdaq was floundering. All the indexes are floundering, except for the IWM. We don't count that. It was up 8.5% on Thursday, and then rallied again on Friday, another 8.5%. So Vistra's flexing here now. They had a rough December. A lot of stocks that have rough Decembers, they're sold off, profit taking the first 2 days of January, they're buying them back. So, like I say, sometimes they sell the stocks and they sell them for a reason, not that they don't like the stock, but they sell them for other reasons, and then New Year hits and they buy them back. So we're seeing that in a lot of these stocks now. CEG, this is the company that has the deal with Microsoft. Once again, you could say this broke above its downtrending line here on, what day was this? Friday? Yeah. So yeah, that's one to watch. All, powered through its moving averages, undercut and rallied right through them with this massive volume. Once again, Thursday was a tell. I know it had news, but yeah, government contract raised 8%. Friday tacked on another 4%. So definitely looking good. VRT is a data center play, cooling. It's got the technology. Once again, this is a lot like VST. VRT and VST broke above that downtrend line. That worked for us before. So, it doesn't bother me to go back to the well. I'm not saying I'm returning to the scene of the crime, but to me, this is a new buy point. Is it undercut the 50 and rallied back through just like VST did? So, like I said, in December, sold off for whatever reason. Now January starts, and these things are rallying up on Thursday and added more gains on Friday. TLN is another one of these power plays, utility electric power, and kind of the same concept here. Up on Friday, wasn't below the 50 like I showed you those other ones, but rallied on Thursday and then again on Friday. So that was the tell, the little foreshadowing of these energy stocks up 5% and then to added gains on Friday. So big news for these companies, and big moves too. And then OKLO, this is Altman's company. I think Peter Thiel's got an investment in it as well. But anyway, this thing's consolidating in a base. It's got that standard buy point of 212. If you watched my stocks of 2025, I have this one in there as one of our, one to watch for sure. I know it's hard for some people to buy stocks, have these big red numbers, but the growth is coming, so you have to have faith in this one. So anyway, you can see the consolidation here on the weekly. Up 19%. So if you owned it coming into the year, you're definitely beating the indexes now. So with that one anyway. All right, I'm going to move on to the software names. Another one that got beat up in December, and rightfully so. It had this big move, right, from 90 to 417. It made that high on December 6th. So that was ahead of the hawkish cut from Powell. But all it did was just form this little, it pulled back to its 21 and formed this little shelf type pattern. I like it above 350 here. I'd like to see it power higher. But once again, up on Thursday, while the Nasdaq was down or the indexes were down, it was up, over 5.5%, and then added more gains on Friday. So AppLovin, definitely one to watch. Definitely a leader in this software space. I know this when I look at the indexes, I know that, those Magnificent Seven or the Batman stocks are going to drive the indexes. But if you look beneath the surface at some of these stocks that I'm showing you in the semiconductor, energy, software, cybersecurity, fintech, oil and gas spaces, aerospace, defense, those stocks would tell you the health of the market because the mega cap tech stocks are so large, they're going to move the indexes, but you can make money on these other stocks while the Nasdaq or the indexes are kind of floundering a little bit. Palantir, this is a big software name. There's so many software names that I could show, like Salesforce and Oracle and ServiceNow, but for the sake of time, I'm just going to show you a few. Palantir is definitely one of these leaders, like AppLovin in the AI software space. Just pull back to its 21. The end of December, there was some profit taking, and then it rallied up 6% on Friday. Palantir is just a beast of a stock. Was up 300, I don't know, 350% last year. I guess I could 391% in the last year or so. Not bad. You'll take that all day long. It was up last week while the indexes were down. So definitely a leader. I did mention ServiceNow, so I better show it. Anyway, just pull back to its 50. Yeah, doing nothing wrong. I think it was down on the week though, like the indexes. Yes, and same with Salesforce, another software name, pulling back. What this is 4 weeks in a row, so it needs to get it in gear. Down 1.64% last week, pulling back to the 50 for the first time since that breakout up to 369 on December 4th. So that should be a gift that should pop, in this type of environment. I know the market's choppy, but definitely keep an eye on Salesforce. That is a Dow Jones Industrial Average stock. And I'm not going to show all these other ones. KD, that's what I'm going to show. Kevin Durant made this big move higher, and there's just formed this little flag type pattern or a shelf, if you will. Yeah, and then blasted higher once again. On Thursday, I was posting this one on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it these days. 2.6 higher while the Nasdaq was down, and then followed through on Friday with nearly a 5% move. So definitely a nice breakout for Kyndryl Holdings KD. All right, I'm going to move on. That's enough with the Batman stocks, the semiconductors, the energy names, the software names. I got to get to cybersecurity, which are software names. This is CyberArk software. Definitely broke out of this little wedge pattern or shelf flag, whatever you want to call it here. Pull back to the 50, found support. And I had a nice week last week. I got to look at the weekly chart. It is a weekly review, 5.8% move higher. For CyberArk, Rubrik is, one that had a nice earnings move, then pulled back, doing nothing wrong, just flagging after that big earnings move. So Rubrik looks good to me as well. This is one of these IPO stocks you got to watch. It had its institutional due diligence phase, and now it's reaching its advanced phase. So this could advance much higher after, breaks out of that flag pattern. Might have to wait for another earnings report, who knows? But Rubrik is definitely one to keep your eye on in this space. And since I'm in this space, I've got to show the oldies but goodies. CrowdStrike is an oldie now. Definitely had this cup with handle pattern, broke out, now pulled back to the 50 for the first time since the breakout. Moved a little bit on Thursday and then popped 3.5% on Friday. So CrowdStrike looks good to me. And Palo Alto Networks, uh, they don't have earnings for a while. Undercut the 50, that does not look as good. Anyway, the cybersecurity is not going anywhere. That's one of the themes, like the energy theme, like the AI theme, like the weight loss drug themes. That cybersecurity theme is not going anywhere. And the last one I want to show is just Fortinet setting up here in this flat base pattern. I kind of like it above the 101 level. I think maybe 100 will provide some resistance. We'll have to wait and see, but I still like Fortinet trading tight within a base. Started to move Thursday and move Friday a little better with higher volume, nearly a 3% move for Fortinet, up 1.5% last week, but you can see here on the weekly, the breakout, the move higher, now the consolidation. So I think patience will be rewarded there. And so patience is something that, is pretty rare these days. People are very impatient. Reddit, I just have to mention this gig economy or social media, or I'm just going to throw all these stocks into a group. Reddit's one that's just an IPO stock. Here's your due diligence phase now, hits an advanced stage and made that high of 180.74 and then pulled back. And it's just been consolidating since December 9th. So it's been nearly a month of just kind of going sideways. It did pop above there one day, but just consolidating in this base here. So Reddit looks good to me. Sold off at the end of December, and as soon as January hit, and like boom, boom, out go the lights. Yeah, it's up 2.5% last week. So yeah, big selling last couple of days of December, and then January they just buy it right back. So another stock that I like a lot. Reddit and Dash is another one. Pull back to the 50 for the first time since the breakout from this cup with handle pattern, and then just kind of like gliding along, doing its Kelly Slater thing on the 50, and then popped 2.5% on Friday. But on Thursday, it was up, nearly 2% with volume. As the indexes were kind of floundering there, you could see that little wedge pattern. I like this thing. I think Dash could be a long-term big winner, monster type stock. On New Year's Day, the guy was trying to get through the gate. My community didn't have the code, so I opened the code for him. He goes, "I'm just with DoorDash delivering a bunch of stuff." I'm going, "That's a sign. January 1 sign for 2025, DoorDash delivering." And it makes sense. Young folks, middle-aged folks, old folks, they don't want to go out. They just have it delivered to their house, right? That makes sense to me. Reddit, DoorDash, and Uber is another one. Uber and Tesla with the robo taxes. I think this will be another longer term winner. I know it's below its 50, it's moving averages here, but that might be an opportunity here. Like AMD and Novo Nordisk just sold off, brutal sell-offs. These guys might be, providing a little opportunity there. Below 60 was probably your gift there for Uber. That one I like as well. All right, I'm moving on. Going a little quicker here. Fintech stocks. This is Block. I think fintech is going to have a good year in 2025. Obviously, broke out from this cup with handle at 75, made a new high, found a little resistance there at 100, pulled back to the 50 for the first time, which was a gift. I should have had this one on my ready list, but I didn't. I was, yeah, just being cautious. And then rallied on Thursday 2%, and then on Friday 6.25%. So yeah, I like these names, Square and Four. They had this big sell off this bar here where the CEO was tapped by the Trump administration to be the head of I forget what it was, NASA, I believe. Anyway, just pull back to its 50 and now recovering. So shift for payments looks pretty good. Then TOST. Once again, I've been shopping a lot and seeing Toast, or excuse me, yeah, Toast, TOST as the, you slide your card and they take your money. Anyway, pull back to the 50 for the first time since the breakout. That should be on the ready list as well because that looks to me like it's ready to move higher. All right, that's enough for that group. I've got to go to the retail because I saw the retail sales numbers for the Black Friday and the Christmas sales were, pretty strong year over year. So I'm thinking some of these retail names are going to have just awful earnings once again. It wouldn't surprise for Deckers to do that, right? But it's just been going sideways since it broke out of this cup with handle pattern. It's forming this shelf-like, action here, wedge for Deckers. Yeah, somebody's buying, in retail. I saw that it was restaurants, apparel, which would be Deckers, and then fragrances like Elf, so people, buying fragrances for Christmas, I guess. Makes sense to me. Urban is another one of these retailers that are apparel. This one's been going ballistic. So this one, I think Wall Street's well aware of how they're doing. I went shopping at malls and I think, the consumer is strong. Everybody's shopping, going to restaurants, which I will get to in a minute because there's a couple names in that group that I like as well. And then Tapestry is being benefiting from Dr. No rejecting their deal with Michael Kors. Since she did that, excuse me, the FTC rejected the Tapestry Capri deal, and Tapestry has been ripping ever since. So obviously, Wall Street didn't like that deal and thinks that Coach Tapestry is better without the Michael Kors, Jimmy Choo brand, Capri. So anyway, making new highs on Friday. So yeah, retail, I love retail. I think it's simple, it's easy, it's straightforward. Um, Bros is another one that I like. And if you bought it here at that breakout there at the 44 area, probably time to, trim a little bit because it's made that 25% move. Although, if you're looking to buy it, I mean, it formed this little, shelf pattern there at that 50, between 50 and 56, right? The little flat base, and then broke out of it on Friday but pulled back. It was a strange day here. If we look at the 5-minute chart on our weekly review, had this big move day one of 2025, rallied into the close, high volume close, opened Friday, and then sold off into the close. But still, Dutch Bros, this is one of my stocks for 2025. I think they're taking market share. I don't think there's anything Starbucks can do about it. The younger crowd is just gravitating towards Dutch Bros. They're growing, opening stores very rapidly. So, yeah, I'm big on Dutch Bros for 2025. And then, of course, I have to mention Brinker International. This one, I've posted about it back here, about $40 and didn't buy it. Had this cup with handle, didn't buy it. It's just been ripping like Bethany Hamilton, just surfing its moving averages higher. Made another high on Friday. So as soon as January hit, boom, boom, 2 days, out go the lights. 6.5% move so far in 2025. So yeah, this is the Chili's Maggiano's. Somebody tell me they make excellent margaritas there. So yeah, and Chili's and Maggiano's, 28 countries, plans to open, 20 to 29 restaurants in 24, 25. You got to listen to the conference call to get more color on that, though. And then Kava. Kava is one that I know a lot of people gave up on. It's in a stage 4 decline. It had a climax top, yada, yada. But they can't push it below this 110 area. That's an area of interest for me. 110, and that was an earnings, back in, fall season, and then it had the December, winter earnings popped there in November and then sold off. And it just cannot be pushed below 110. It made it down there to 110.59, then 112, now starting to make higher lows. So sometimes, uh, it's to me, it's just getting rolling out of this IPO base. Maybe it's done. I don't know. I don't think so, but I'm not going to argue with the market. Only price pays, and if they can't push it below 110, and I think that's a line of support for Kava right there. Don't let it go below there, though. Yeah. All right. That would definitely be a line in the sand. All right, I got to get to the oil and gas stocks. I have a few that I like. LB is one, obviously, IPO. Undercut the 50 and rallied back through. Nice 8% move on Friday. I'm not ignoring, strength here. It's not my favorite group, but this is Gulfport Energy had this consolidation and broke out last week. That looks pretty good to me. It's shown the ability to move here. Big rips, consolidate, big rip. It's consolidated for a long time, then ripped up and had a little flat base pattern for only 5 weeks. So it might need some more time. That's another one I like as well. Then KNTK is one of interest. Why? Well, broke above a downtrend line within its base here, right? That looks pretty good to me. On Thursday, while the indexes were floundering, this one was making a move higher than on Friday. Another move higher. So this one to me is just one of interest. I don't own it, but looks pretty good to me. Then YPF. This is the Argentina gas plant. It's made this big run, consolidating here, trading sideways. Looks good. Since I'm talking about Argentina, I've got to mention these Argentina banks. A lot of strength here. Made this high of 1627, pulled back to its 10, found support and bounced. These bank stocks are just really strong. This is a GGAL, surfing its moving average like Bethany Hamilton. BBAR, another one. I mean, these are great surfer stocks. Just trading higher. So you say, oh, they're hard to buy, they're too extended. You know, when they do this, this is giving you a chance, right? Every time it pulls back, it's an opportunity. And right here was another one. So, and then the last one is their utility stock, PAM, Pampa Energy. And this one, have these David Ryan ants, which indicates, buying or strength. Many days up in a row with volume, like you see right here. So pulled back to the 21, found support and bounce. So the Argentina stocks look fantastic. There's a lot more stuff that I can get to, but I could be here for 2 or 3 hours here, and I'm not going to do that because I have a life and I need stuff to do today. I got a honey-do list. Anyway, that's it for me. Thank you for watching. Except at mcstockcharts.com, we always like to honor the great Steve Jobs and mention the rocket ship stocks. The aerospace and defense stocks have been going kind of like the quantum stocks. They're going parabolic. And I'm just going to show you a few of them here. This is Rocket Lab, aerospace and defense. Now, obviously, when you think of aerospace and defense, you think of General Electric or Lockheed Martin or Raytheon RTX or Northrop Grumman, but these are the kind of this more speculative plays. This one has sales growth though, and you can see this one just kind of consolidated here in this little box type pattern after making the high there of 2610. So to me, that would be an area of interest. What day was that? The 29th? No, no, Marty, it wasn't the 29th. It was this day here. 2810 on December 2. So it's been exactly 1 month in this box. And once it break above that 2810, which it closed above it on Friday, 15% move to me. That's an area of interest for sure. LUNR is another one of these names, aerospace defense. They're just going ballistic, man. Soaring higher. And, this is just, I'm just acknowledging price action here. I'm not saying that, these are the, to buy in, retirement accounts forever, but like the quantum stocks, quantum computing stocks are just making new highs, higher lows and higher highs is the definition of an uptrend. So that's Intuitive Machines, LUNR. ACHR is Archer Aviation. They have these I don't know, you call them helicopters or devices that go straight up, vertical, right off the ground. Yeah. So yeah, that's another one. And the chart is self-explanatory, I think. This is Joby. Anyways, a weekly review. I want to show this one because it just broke out of this. I would call that a stage one base, but it says stage two. That's fine. And went sideways and even went down for a few weeks here in December. And then the last couple of weeks has perked up. You could see it was up 9% last week. And the prior week had made a strong move of 16%. So starting to move out of that base here. And then on Friday made that new high, closed at 97% of that daily range. It wouldn't surprise me to see it go higher next week. That's JOBY, Joby. And then RDW, there's a lot of them here. I'm just going to stop though. You can see that broke out from the base. And now every time it pulls back to its moving average, it's finding support. Anyway, I did say that was the last one, and I lied because this is a drone stock, software drone name. They reported earnings recently. Yeah, they don't report again until April 8th, but you can see it broke out of a base, pulled back to the 21, and these things are getting support at the 21. So that's telling you that, somebody's buying these. Look at this big volume coming in recently, in the month of December. So yeah, that it's not Aunt Sally buying these things. I know they're low priced, but man, they're moving a lot, and you don't want to ignore, this price action because only price pays here. So yeah, we like this one as well. All right. Anyway, that's it for me at mcstockcharts.com. We never give up. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thank you for watching.